Let's also bring on board G.Chokkalingam from Centrum Wealth to talk about the fundamentals the market is working with. Chokkalingam, firstly a word on the pharma pack and in particular Ranbaxy, the way the stock has jumped up after its earnings.
I would still suggest to avoid Ranbaxy because, whether you talk about the share price or you talk about the quarterly results, there is no consistency. And the market is not only driven by the pandas, of late the perception also play a major role in maximizing the risk. So considering the risk also coming from perception, I would suggest that you avoid Ranbaxy. So move on to safer stocks within the pharma space.
What about the banking pack? Increasingly now most brokerages are turning bearish on the entire banking pack. Not only are they worried about the asset quality concerns, but also the fact that we are now looking at the possibility of no rate cuts this fiscal, if at all. There's even a possibility of rate hikes as well. What's your fundamental call in the banking sector?
I continue to remain negative on PSU banks. But of course, private banks would be least impacted as compared to PSU banks. But as you rightly said, we also quite concerned about the rupee exchange rate, and we believe that the RBI hands are tied, and we unnecessarily lost about $100 billion of forex in importing gold in the last 30 months. So there is a lesser option available for RBI to control the rupee. And as you said, it might be very difficult for them to, use dollar reserves to bring down the exchange rate of dollar, which means, there is less likelihood of any aggressive rate cut happening. And therefore, it's better to be cautious. Not only the banking sector, we are quite cautious on the whole market. And within banking sector, I would, just stick to a few banks which have got, very good asset quality in the private sector, but I would continue to avoid public sector banks. And in private sector, definitely one can continue to believe in stocks like Yes Bank, HDFC Bank, and one or two, mid-sized banks like Jammu Kashmir. And otherwise, I am quite, cautious on the whole market.
Chokkalingam, Hero Motocorp and the management has really guided for a very strong performance. They hope to clock the 100 million sales mark by targeting newer geographies. They're starting off a plant in Peru as well in South America. Do you like the company and the stock at this point?
I would suggest hold on to the stock, not for the proposal the management has announced, for the reason that in FY15 their margins are going to expand because of the lesser royalty payment. Therefore, I would suggest hold, but again, as I said, I am quite cautious on the whole market and also on the automotive sector because the competition is very intense. It's not going to be that easy to capture the markets in India or even outside the country because we know Europe also struggling in automobile sector. So it is too early to say, all the proposals would whether materialize and reward. But certainly one can hold. As I said, FY15, there would be significant jump in the margin, and therefore one can continue to hold the stock.
What about the OMC pack? Again, there's some amount of news flow doing the rounds on the subsidy sharing burden as well. What's your call on OMCs right now?
OMCs I would avoid. So let us see the fact that, if you look at the revenue of country, we had seen recently the excise duty collections going down. Very rarely you see the excise duty collections going down. And that's an indicator of what's happening to the, the corporate world. And which means there's going to be a lot more pressure on the fiscal deficit. A lot of subsidy is yet to be released for oil marketing companies as well as for fertilizer companies. And what government has budgeted for the current fiscal is not enough to meet the anticipated shortfall. So there's going to be a lot of pain, and since it is also coincide with the election, I don't think government can punish anybody except the OMCs. So I would better suggest investors to sell all OMCs, keep the cash in the bank deposits.
Chokkalingam, good chatting with you. Appreciate you joining in on the show today.